So, Mike, I heard that you box?
Well, I don't box anymore, but I was boxing, mostly kickboxing for a while.
Oh, wow, that sounds crazy. How did you get into it?
Well, from a young age, from about the age of 12, I started doing karate in Vancouver. And I was training in karate for about 7 or 8 years. And then once I graduated from high school, I moved, and I moved to Japan, and there I continued and didn't have much time to do training, but I got involved in the kickboxing circle with some friends that did a lot of kickboxing and different types of martial arts.
Wow, kickboxing. So I assume the training's pretty hard too, right?
Yeah, the training was brutal. Um,
What kind of trainings do you do?
well, I was never professional, but I had a couple amateur fights, and I don't think people quite understand how much goes into one fight because leading up to the fight, a couple months before the fight, a friend of mine and I would be training at least 5 times a week, and we would
Wow.
do really brutal sprints up a hill over and over again, and we do interval training on the sand. And in addition, of course, we were doing lots of sparring and lots of conditioning and stuff that would just really push your body to the limit and really test you.
Wow, that must have been very tough. So, were you ever worried about head injuries?
Well, especially with boxing, you get a lot of head injuries, and more so over time, because unlike other martial arts, boxing is designed to keep you standing and taking hits. And that's why you see a lot of professional boxers as they get older and near the end of their career, or even after their career. A lot of them have severe brain damage. Their speech is impeded, and you can tell that they've really done some damage to their head over the years.
I have a brother, so I can relate this. Um, my brother, when he started to, join karate team, my parents were super worried about, head injuries and any kinds of injuries.
Right.
So, what did your family say about that? Were they supportive?
Well, when I first got into karate, they were supportive of me, mostly because karate is not so much used as it's not a martial art used so much for fighting, but I used it for a really good experience in discipline. And because I started when I was 12, it was very strict, and it taught me really good discipline. And it actually, surprisingly enough, it teaches you not to use violence in conflicts. And so my family really liked that aspect, the fact that it taught me discipline, and it taught me about how violence is not usually the way to solve problems, and it doesn't work well. So, of course, the aspect of getting injured and doing damage to your body was always there, and I think especially my mom was always pretty worried. And when I showed her videos of my fights or sparring, she would give a lot of scared reactions, commentary. Ooh, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
sure.
okay? But all in all, I clearly explained to them the benefits of martial arts and how they discipline not only your body but your mind. So my parents were pretty understanding with that.
Wow. I want to see your fight one day. You said that you don't box anymore, but I would love to watch you fight.
Well, yeah, I spar every once in a while, but maybe if you get lucky.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, Mike. I was wondering the difference between MMA and boxing. What are the differences?
Well, there's a lot of differences actually. MMA stands for mixed martial arts. So I guess by the name you can tell that there are a lot of different variations of MMA. It's usually a combination of stand-up fighting and ground fighting. So in contrast with boxing, boxing is only stand-up. You never fight on the ground. And with MMA, there are many different styles and different tournaments, different kinds of rules. There's fighting standing up, and there's fighting going to the ground, which would also include submission. And so right off the bat, that's quite a big difference there.
Oh, I see. Do you like MMA better or kickboxing better? Because I know you used to box, right?
Yeah, I mean, kickboxing is definitely, heading towards MMA, whereas boxing is quite a strict discipline, and the rules are a lot more basic, whereas MMA has different variations and stuff. It's very difficult to choose which one I like better. I really enjoy watching both, and I don't compare them as if one is better than the other, but they're just very different sports.
Oh, I see, I see. So, in Japan, Pride and K1 are very famous here.
Right.
What about in Canada? Is MMA big?
Well, recently in Canada as well, but in America, in North America now, MMA is really big. It's much bigger than boxing is now, and UFC, Ultimate Fighter Championship, is the league which is by far the biggest MMA league in the world, and it's been growing in popularity ever since it started. And I think the reason that MMA is becoming so much bigger than boxing is because it's so much more versatile. You have people from so many different disciplines of martial arts, and recently it's not enough to be just disciplined in boxing or taekwondo or judo or jiu-jitsu. You have to be disciplined in various disciplines, because the guys that are the best in the UFC league, they can do it all. So they can do stand-up fighting, punches, kicks, they can do ground fighting. So some people would say it's more interesting to watch, and you get a lot more people from different places and different styles. So I think the doors to MMA are open a lot wider than they are to boxing.
Oh, wow. I would love to go watch MMA tournaments one day.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a lot of fun, so please check them out.
Yeah, I will.
Hey Daniel, so I was wondering, can you remember any time when you were really mad, sad, or embarrassed?
Well, I think I have a couple of those, a couple of each of those actually. But I don't know. Recently, I had an episode that I was really sad, and it was that I was applying for a scholarship, and I was putting all the effort, and I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy in it, and finally I was rejected. So that that was really, really bad for me, and for that year I was really sad, and I was really angry, because that was my big project for that year. So the fact that I couldn't get it, it made me really sad. But and also you asked me about being embarrassed. I think most of the times when I was embarrassed, when I was a little kid, I always was trying to do cool stuff. I don't know, hang out with friends, but something, like all the time, something went wrong. For example, I don't know. I remember I was trying to play football or something, and suddenly I just fell. And I don't know, once actually I broke my hand, and that was pretty embarrassing in front of all my mates in school.
Okay, so you say you were really mad and angry because you didn't get the scholarship,
Yeah.
right? I was wondering, how do you usually express your anger?
Well, I don't think it's better to find that out. I was pretty bad at it. I used to express it like, I don't know, shouting or hitting stuff. But now that I'm a bit older, I learned how to control that, and I learned that not always things depends on you. Sometimes you get the results from, like, I don't know, from other factors. So you have to take it, and you have to learn to live with that. But that takes time. So yeah, at the beginning I was really mad and I was really sad. But then I understood that probably it wasn't the time. So when you understand and when you go through that kind of stuff, you learn, and then you learn not to get that emotional at the beginning and to think over it.
I agree. I think you learn from, those experiences and you just become better.
Well, I don't know if better, but I definitely learned something.
But you'll know how to, handle things when you face them again.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to handle that kind of stuff again. But in case I do, I think I'm prepared to do it now. Hey fella, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Is there do you remember any time where you've been really sad or angry or embarrassed?
Yeah, it actually happened before I came here.
Uh-huh.
I had a huge fight with my dad.
Uh-huh.
And we had a disagreement about something. And I had a disagreement with my aunt, which is my dad's, sister.
Uh-huh.
And my dad just kind of took her side instead of my side, and I was really disappointed in him. And I lost my temper, and I started hitting the window, and it kind of broke. And my dad was...
Wait a minute, you broke the window because you were angry.
I did.
Okay.
I really lost my, control. And my dad, he started crying, and, seeing him cry was really, painful. And
Wow, I didn't know you were that kind of person that could break a window.
when I lose my temper, I tend to do,
But
things that are out of control, but yeah.
But what was the whole argument about? Like, do you think it would have that result? Like, will you break a window because an argument with your dad?
Well, I think it was just because I was really disappointed that he took, my aunt's side instead of my side.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying stuff like, it's all my fault, and, he was really disappointed in me. So I was really sad that he said that, and yeah, I lost my temper and started hitting stuff.
Okay, how about being embarrassed? Do you remember any time where you were really embarrassed?
Yeah, I think in high school. So there's this guy I have a huge crush on,
Uh-huh.
and I was walking down the stairs, and he saw me, and I was acting like awkwardly, and there was a big plant in front of me, and I didn't see it because I was too busy looking at him, and I kind of tripped over, and it was really embarrassing, and everyone was laughing, and that guy saw me.
Oh, that's the worst thing.
Falling like in front of your crush, I think that would be really embarrassing.
Yeah. What did you do afterwards?
Well, I just acted cool, and say I'm fine, and just left.
Wow, that must be really difficult.
Because I was trying to look, pretty as I walked down the stairs, and I didn't see the plant in front of me.
So after that, did you ever get that guy to like you?
Well, actually, he came up to me and he was asking if I was okay.
Uh-huh.
And we ended up exchanging numbers.
Oh, so that was a success.
Yeah, it was a success.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So, Mike, do you have any bad habits?
Of course not. I'm perfect. I have no habits that are bad. Yes, I do have some bad habits. One of my bad habits is fidgeting. And I think I'm a very high energy person. So, especially when I'm on the phone, mixed with my slightly obsessive compulsive tendencies, I tend to arrange all the things on the desk. So if there are pens and books and different things on the desk, I would be turning them and arranging them in order and pretty much always using my hands and keeping them busy. And although this might not be such a bad habit, perhaps for people who are with me or next to me, that might be a little bit uncomfortable because it seems like, I'm a bit nervous or, have something on my mind. So
you're not confident with with your speech or
Right. So in fact, that's not the case. But what happens is I start playing with things, and I
I've
think.
seen you do that before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Well, then I guess that really shows it is one of my bad habits. I think that I do that to focus because, while I'm speaking to somebody or while I'm on the phone, I arrange things on the desk, and that is kind of metaphorically me arranging my thoughts in my head, which is probably where this habit has come from.
I see. Do you have any other bad habits other than fidgeting?
Well, maybe a bad habit is driving quickly. And I'm not sure if that's considered a bad habit, but I guess when I get behind the wheel of a car, I sometimes get impatient. And that impatience drives me to put more weight on the gas pedal, and in turn I go faster. And of course, speeding is not a good thing, especially when you get pulled over by the police. So that's a bad habit that I might have to work on.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to lose your license.
No. So, Irina, I wanted to ask you, what kind of bad habits do you have?
Well, it's pretty tough to know what your bad habits are, because it's usually something that other people will see.
Right.
And I hear a lot that I go to Starbucks a lot, and I have to admit that I do go to Starbucks a lot every time I find time.
Right. Now, some people would say that's not a bad habit, but what do you think about that makes it a bad habit?
I do waste money, a lot of money on Starbucks, and I am not a coffee person. I just like to be in the environment where I can just sit down and drink coffee, I guess.
Well, understandable, especially in Starbucks and other coffee shops. It is they do a good job of creating a nice atmosphere, and it makes people want to stay. But then, having said that, overspending is definitely a bad habit.
Yeah, it is for sure money drainer to go to
Yeah,
Starbucks
absolutely.
all the time. But people know where to find me, so I guess that's a good thing.
Well, there are always benefits to bad things. Now, besides overspending at Starbucks, can you think of any other bad habits that you might have?
Well, I get this from my husband a lot, but I touch my hair all the time apparently, but I
Oh.
really don't notice myself doing it. So, my husband fidgets a lot and he doesn't notice it, and I think it's one of those things that other people will, point at you, point it out, what your bad habits are. And for me, is apparently touching my hair.
Right, I guess that bad habit is kind of in the same category as fidgeting, right?
I think so.
Although that might be a calming action for you, for other people it looks like you're nervous or you're not sure what to say, so that might be a bad habit that you could work on.
Yeah, I can work on it by tying my hair up, I guess. Very simple.
Well, it's a simple fix.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Hey, Jugi, I'm good.
I'm so glad we're done with classes.
Yeah, me too.
What are you doing for the summer vacation?
Right now, I have no plans.
Well, I am planning to go home to Mongolia. You should come with me.
Really? Mongolia?
Yeah, summertime. It's very nice. We have a very nice holiday called Nadam. And during the Nadam, we have a 3 days of festival.
Really? I've always wanted to go to Mongolia. And that sounds like a good time to go.
Yes, it is. Nadam is in July, and then it's for 3 days from July 11th to July 13th. And it's happening all over the country. You can experience anywhere in Mongolia. And during the Nadam festival, we have wrestling, archery, and horse race.
Really? Wrestling, archery, and horse racing?
Yes, and you can get to see all of them in one place.
Really? What? Can I ride horses?
Yes, you can. Right next to the place where they horse race, people are offering horses for other people to ride, and they just charge a little bit of money.
Really?
Yes.
And wrestling, that sounds interesting.
Yes, wrestling is held just a few kilometers away from the horse racing in the biggest stadium, and it's for like 2 days. If I were you, I would go to the second day and just see the end. It's very nice.
And the archery, what kind of archery is it?
It's more like the traditional kind of archery. You just hit the target, and just as many target you hit, that's the better. And even in archery, they have female and male together. It's not separated. So that's a very unique thing.
Oh, sounds interesting. And how long is the horse race?
Horse race, it's actually very different than other places. Horse race, there are 6 different kind of horse races depending on the different ages of the horses.
Oh, really?
And the distances are different because of the ages as well. For example, the youngest horse would run for 30 kilometers, but the oldest horses would run for 40 kilometers.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes, I think you should come with me and experience the big festival in Mongolia.
Well, this sounds like a good plan.
Yes, it is.